And what would you say, what's the impact that you've had so far?
Well, it's been very unique and significant. I think we've stumbled upon a lot of things. We realized very quickly that we were doing something different here. We observed the students and how they interacted with some of these features that we brought into the classroom, and we noticed quickly that the students are responding to some things and other things not so much. So those features that they don't respond to are not necessarily here. This is after a couple of years of development. But things like the ponds and touch and sensory, that's really big for a lot of the students. They need that. They gravitate towards that. And a lot of our students are kinesthetic. They need to move around. Yeah. So they want to be up and out of their seats. They don't want to be sitting for a 3-hour lecture. They want to move around. Even this format that we're in is a traditional format, but the kids, when they do interviews, they want to be moving in the interview. They want to be around. So we try to provide them opportunities to do that. And we've observed that things like pawns and touch and sensory, they respond to well, and they perform really well academically by having those other things there, because it's meeting some need for them. So an example I can give you is we have a student who's diagnosed with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. So it's a diagnosed, what they call a learning disability. But we reframe that as ability, and then we think about what's necessary for that student to be successful. We put a little pond next to where that kid was sitting, and they dipped their fingers into the water, and that student didn't get up for an hour and a half. They just stayed there. They're just in the water, and we're doing their work at the same time, because that was solving a bit of the hyperactivity, whatever it is, it was solving something in there for that student, and it allowed them to then become more successful academically. So what do we see? We see the kids becoming academically much more successful and participating.
Yeah. So I see that. Okay. So it was interesting to see that you call this a language class, right?
Yes.
You call it a language class in the midst of science, right? Why language class and not a science class?
So the Ontario curriculum has something called transferable skills in the language curriculum, and transferable skills, and also this digital literacy there. But this idea of literacy transcends beyond just the English language. There are lots of languages that we need to develop proficiency with. Body language, how we communicate with each other is not, it's expressive just as much as writing and speaking. But we don't really have a unit on body language. We don't teach them how to read each other and know and sense and perceive and understand. So, that's one part of it. But there are these digital literacies. There's the fluency of language of specific industries. So if kids want to break into an industry, they want to learn about a particular industry or a field that they might be interested in going into in the future, they need to know the currency of that institution or the currency of that industry in order to get in there. So hospital talk, shop talk, these are terms that people use. There's a whole language behind them. So when we're here, being able to read one another, being able to communicate using eye signals with each other, knowing how to stand the appropriate distances from one another, that's one part of it. Being comfortable operating in a particular industry is another piece of the puzzle. So knowing how to make a coffee, how to make someone feel comfortable, welcoming them to your office. The first time you open doors to your new business that you create, you've never had a customer in before. You've never hosted anyone before. It's your first time. So you're making those mistakes and you're learning on the job at your own expense too. Whereas here you have an opportunity to test some of that out. And the digital literacies now have changed. It used to be computers, typing and all of that, and we taught those skills. But now it's AI, and AI has voice activation. So the kids need to learn how to speak to a system that is just around them, that's listening to them. So this classroom responds to the students. It will prompt certain students, and they have interactions with the classroom, which is an AI system, and that's a digital literacy. So it's all these different pieces that we have to kind of bring together.